The glass beneath my fingertips was cold, streaked with condensation that matched the tears I'd been fighting all morning. I hummed softly, an old lullaby my mother used to sing, as I wiped circles into the massive windows overlooking the city. 6 months of cleaning mansions for Chicago's elite, and this penthouse still intimidated me more than any other. "You missed a spot." I nearly dropped my cloth. The voice came from behind me, deep and accented with something I couldn't place. Italian, maybe, but rougher around the edges. I hadn't heard him enter. No one ever did. Mr. Vincenzo Russo moved like a shadow in his own home, appearing without warning, disappearing just as quickly. "I'm sorry, sir," I whispered, scrubbing harder at a perfectly clean section of glass. My reflection showed a pale face framed by unruly dark hair escaping its bun. Behind me, his silhouette loomed. Broad shoulders encased in a suit that probably cost more than my yearly rent. "That song. What is it?" He stepped closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne. Something expensive that reminded me of cedar and smoke. "Just something my mother taught me," I swallowed, keeping my eyes fixed on the glass. "I can stop if it bothers you." I didn't say it bothered me. The 3 housekeepers who'd quit before me had warned me about him. The infamous Vincenzo Russo, 32, devastatingly handsome and utterly ruthless. They never specified what business he was in, but the whispers, the armed men perpetually stationed throughout the building, and the way certain visitors arrived with fear in their eyes told me enough. "Lucia." He said my name like he was tasting it. "When you finish the windows, my office needs attending." I nodded, still not looking directly at him. "Yes, sir." His shoes, Italian leather polished to a mirror shine, turned away, then stopped. The melody, it's Sicilian. Before I could respond, he was gone, leaving nothing but the lingering scent of his cologne and the hammering of my heart against my ribs. I finished the windows methodically, still humming, but more quietly now, conscious of ears that might be listening. The penthouse was eerily silent most days. Mr. Russo rarely entertained guests here. This place seemed to be his sanctuary, not a showcase like the homes of other wealthy clients. When I reached his office, I knocked softly despite knowing it was empty. He was never there during cleaning hours, a rule his head of security, Marco, had emphasized repeatedly on my first day. "Mr. Russo values his privacy," he'd said, his hand resting casually on the gun beneath his jacket. "Clean what you're told to clean. Don't touch anything else." The office was immaculate as always. Not a paper out of place on the mahogany desk. Not a speck of dust on the leather-bound books lining the walls. I dusted silently, the song dying in my throat. This room always felt like entering a confessional. Sacred, secretive, dangerous. I was reaching for the crystal decanter to polish it when I heard the door open. Spinning around, I found myself face to face with Mr. Russo himself, breaking his own cardinal rule. "Sir, I'm sorry, I was just..." "Sing it again." His voice was soft but carried the unmistakable weight of a command. "What?" "The song. Sing it." He closed the door behind him, leaning against it. The room suddenly felt smaller, the air thicker. I clutched the polishing cloth against my chest like a shield. "I don't really sing in front of people, sir." His dark eyes narrowed slightly. "You were singing for the past hour." "I was humming." "It's different." I bit my lip, immediately regretting the show of defiance. To my surprise, one corner of his mouth lifted in what might have been the ghost of a smile. "You're not afraid of me." It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. "I'm terrified of you, sir." That almost smile widened slightly. "Yet you argue." My hand trembled, and I set down the crystal before I could drop it. "I should finish cleaning the other rooms. Sing for me, and you can go." I stared at him, trying to understand what was happening. Vincenzo Russo was notorious for many things, but musical appreciation wasn't one of them. The women who came and went from his life, models, actresses, socialites, were paraded on his arm at events, then discarded within weeks. None lasted, none mattered. And here he was, demanding a song from his maid. I took a shaky breath and began to sing softly, the Sicilian lullaby flowing from memory. my grandmother's voice echoing in my mind as I formed the unfamiliar words. I didn't understand their meaning, only their melody. Mr. Russo's expression changed as I sang. Something flickered behind those impenetrable eyes. For a moment, he looked almost human. When I finished, the silence felt heavy between us. "Where did you learn that?" he asked finally, his voice strangely rough. "My grandmother. She came from Sicily as a girl. What was her name?" The question seemed innocent, but nothing about this man was innocent. "Rosalia Marino." Something dangerous flashed across his face. "From which part of Sicily? Palermo, I think. Why?" He straightened, adjusting his cufflinks, gold, emblazoned with what looked like a family crest. "You may go, Lucia. Return tomorrow as usual." I slipped past him, careful not to brush against his suit, feeling his eyes tracking my movement until I disappeared from view. That night, my tiny apartment felt even smaller than usual, the walls pressing in as I replayed the strange encounter. I should quit. Every instinct screamed it, but quitting meant no rent money, no medication for my younger brother's chronic illness, no chance of saving for his college fund. My phone rang at 11:47 p.m., an unknown number lighting up the screen. "Hello?" I answered cautiously. "Miss Marino." Not a question. The voice belonged to Marco, Mr. Russo's security chief. "Your services are required tomorrow evening, a private event. Mr. Russo specifically requested you." My stomach dropped. "I don't do events. I'm just the regular house cleaner." "This is not a request," Marco stated flatly. "A car will collect you at 7. Wear something appropriate." The line went dead before I could argue. I called my regular agency supervisor immediately, hands shaking. "Lucia? Honey, this is actually good news," she said, sounding relieved. "Mr. Russo has gone through 5 housekeepers this year. If he's requesting you specifically, it means you're doing something right." "But I don't do events," I protested. "You do now. Whatever Mr. Russo wants, we accommodate." Her tone softened slightly. "Look, these private events pay 3 times your normal rate. One night could cover your brother's medicine for months." After we hung up, I sat on my bed staring at the wall. 3 times my normal rate. Medicine for months. I couldn't say no. The next day passed in a blur of anxiety. At precisely 7, a sleek black Audi with tinted windows pulled up outside my building. The driver, another suit-wearing man with the unmistakable bulge of a shoulder holster, opened the door wordlessly. The car took me not to the penthouse but to a sprawling estate on the outskirts of the city, guarded by an imposing iron gate and men with earpieces. As we drove up the winding driveway, I clutched my small purse, wishing I'd had something better to wear than my only nice dress. A simple black number I'd bought for job interviews. Marco met me at the entrance, his expression as unreadable as ever. "You're not here to clean," he said before I could ask. "Mr. Russo wants you to sing." "Sing?" I echoed incredulously. "The Sicilian songs. Follow me." He led me through a mansion that made the penthouse look modest. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, priceless art adorning every wall. Dozens of well-dressed guests mingled, champagne glasses in hand. I felt painfully out of place, acutely aware of my drugstore makeup and sensible shoes. Marco guided me to a small anteroom off the main hall. "Wait here. Mr. Russo will come for you." Alone, I paced the ornate room, heart thundering. This was madness. I was a housekeeper, not a performer. What was Mr. Russo playing at? The door opened and he entered, devastatingly elegant in a black tuxedo that fit him like a second skin. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his jawline sharp enough to cut glass. Up close, the scar that ran along his right cheekbone was more noticeable, a silver line that somehow only enhanced his dangerous beauty. "Lucia," he said, those dark eyes assessing me from head to toe. "You came. Did I have a choice?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. That ghost of a smile appeared again. "We always have choices. Some are simply more painful than others." He crossed to a cabinet, removing a velvet box. "Your dress is inadequate for tonight's gathering." The blunt assessment stung, though he wasn't wrong. "I'm sorry. It's all I have." "Which is why I procured this. He opened the box, revealing a necklace of sapphires that caught the light like captured stars. To elevate your appearance, I stepped back. I can't accept that. It's not a gift. It's a costume for your performance. He moved behind me before I could protest further, his fingers brushing my neck as he fastened the necklace. The weight of it felt like a collar. Tonight, you represent me. You will sing 3 songs, the lullaby and 2 others your grandmother taught you. You will speak to no one without my permission. You will stay by my side. Do you understand? The jewels were cold against my skin. Why me? Why not hire a real singer? His hands came to rest on my shoulders, his breath warm against my ear. Because when you sing, you remind me of home. Something in his tone made me shiver. There was possession there, and something else I couldn't name, a hunger that had nothing to do with music. My grandmother would say the devil always misses heaven, I whispered. His laugh was low and without humor. Then she would be right about me. He turned me to face him, lifting my chin with one finger. One night, Lucia. Give me this one night, and your brother's medical bills disappear. Permanently. My blood froze. How do you know about my brother? I know everything about the people who enter my home. His thumb brushed my lower lip, the gesture strangely intimate. Do we have an agreement? I should have been terrified. I was terrified, but beneath the fear lay something else. A dangerous curiosity about the man behind the monster. We have an agreement. Good. He offered his arm. Remember, you're mine tonight. Play your part well. I took his arm, the sapphires heavy around my throat, and stepped into a world I never should have entered. A beautiful, treacherous world where Vincenzo Russo reigned supreme, and I was nothing but a songbird in a gilded cage. What I couldn't have known then was that the cage door would soon close behind me, trapping me in a game where music was merely the opening move, and my heart would become the ultimate prize. The ballroom fell silent when I began to sing. Standing beside a grand piano, jewels I didn't own adorning my throat, I closed my eyes and let my grandmother's songs fill the cavernous space. The first notes trembled, betraying my nerves, but then something strange happened. The music carried me away from the watching eyes, the evaluating whispers, the heavy presence of Vincenzo Russo observing from the front row. I sang of the sea and the mountains of Sicily, of love lost and found, of a homeland remembered only in stories. When I finished the third song, the silence hung for a heartbeat before applause erupted. Polite, appreciative, surprised. Vincenzo appeared at my side immediately, his hand settling at the small of my back, fingers splayed possessively. You exceeded expectations, he murmured, guiding me through the crowd of guests who parted before him like water breaking around stone. Who is your charming companion, Vincenzo? A silver-haired man stepped forward, his smile not reaching his calculating eyes. I don't believe we've been introduced. Lucia Marino, Vincenzo answered smoothly. A family connection, recently returned from abroad. The lie rolled off his tongue so easily it made me wonder how many others he'd told. The older man's eyes narrowed slightly, evaluating me with newfound interest. Marino. From Palermo, perhaps. His Italian accent was more pronounced than Vincenzo's. Before I could answer, Vincenzo's grip tightened imperceptibly against my back. Lucia doesn't discuss family matters, Salvatore. Surely you understand. The warning in his tone was unmistakable. Salvatore inclined his head slightly, a gesture of deference that seemed at odds with the challenge in his eyes. Of course. Family is everything. He kissed my hand, holding it a moment longer than necessary. Your voice is a gift, Miss Marino. Perhaps you might sing for my gathering next month. Lucia's schedule is quite full, Vincenzo interjected. If you'll excuse us. He steered me away, his posture rigid. Once we were safely across the room, he leaned close, lips brushing my ear. You don't speak to Salvatore Catalano. Ever. Do you understand? I nodded, trembling slightly at the intensity in his voice. Who is he? A business associate. His answer revealed nothing. Someone who would use anything or anyone to gain advantage. Use me how? I asked. His dark eyes studied my face. You really have no idea who your grandmother was, do you? Before I could press him further, a stunning woman in a red dress approached, sliding her arm through Vincenzo's with practiced familiarity. "There you are, darling. I've been looking everywhere." She gave me a dismissive glance before focusing entirely on him. "Your father was asking for you, Sophia." His voice cooled several degrees. "I wasn't aware you were invited tonight." She laughed, the sound like breaking glass. "Don't be absurd. I'm always invited." Her perfectly manicured hand caressed his arm. "Your father insisted I come. You know how he adores me. My father tolerates you because of your family connections. Don't mistake that for adoration." I tried to step away, uncomfortable with witnessing this exchange. But Vincenzo's hand immediately recaptured mine, holding me firmly in place. "And who is this little songbird?" Sophia's gaze raked over me with unconcealed disdain. "New charity project, Vincenzo?" "Lucia is my guest," he replied, each word measured and precise, "which is more than I can say for you tonight." The woman's smile faltered, genuine hurt flashing across her beautiful face before hardening into anger. "You'll regret this public humiliation," she hissed, then stalked away, her red dress a slash of color against the monochrome crowd. "Who was that?" I whispered, once she was out of earshot. "No one of importance." He guided me toward a set of French doors leading to a garden terrace. "Some air would be beneficial. You look pale." The night air was cool against my heated skin. Fairy lights twinkled among the manicured hedges, creating the illusion of stars brought down to earth. We were alone on the terrace, though I could see security personnel stationed at discreet distances, their vigilant eyes scanning constantly. "Your singing tonight has created complications," Vincenzo said after a long silence, staring out at the darkened garden. "I don't understand." "No, you wouldn't." He sighed, running a hand through his perfect hair, momentarily disheveling it. The gesture seemed strangely vulnerable, at odds with his fortress-like demeanor. "Your grandmother, Rosalia Marino, was she married to Antonio Marino?" I blinked in surprise. "Yes. My grandfather died before I was born." "How did you know his name?" Vincenzo turned to me, his expression unreadable in the dim light. "Because Antonio Marino was my father's consigliere before he disappeared 30 years ago. The entire Marino family was presumed dead in a fire that destroyed their estate." The ground seemed to shift beneath my feet. "That's impossible. My grandparents immigrated to America 40 years ago. They ran a small restaurant in Queens until my grandfather died of heart failure." A convenient story. His voice held no accusation, only a strange resignation. "One that kept you and your family safe for generations." "Safe from what?" My voice had risen, and he placed a finger against my lips. "Not here." He glanced toward the house where guests still mingled. "This changes everything, Lucia. You cannot return to your apartment tonight. Or perhaps ever." Fear shot through me. "What are you talking about? Of course I'm going home. My brother will be collected and brought to a secure location along with his medication." His tone brooked no argument. "Salvatore Catalano has seen you now, heard your name. If you are who I suspect, your life is in immediate danger." "This is insane." I backed away, bumping against the stone balustrade. "I'm nobody. Just a housekeeper trying to pay my bills. There's been some mistake." His laugh was without humor. "The only mistake was your grandmother thinking she could hide forever." He stepped closer, crowding me against the balustrade. "The Rosalia Marino I'm thinking of had a birthmark, a small crescent moon behind her right ear." My hand flew instinctively to the spot where my own birthmark lay hidden beneath my hair. Vincenzo's eyes darkened. "So it's true. This is crazy," I whispered. "You can't just kidnap me and my brother because of some mob feud that happened before I was born." "Kidnap?" He looked genuinely offended. "I'm trying to protect you, Lucia. If Salvatore confirms who you are, you'll disappear, and not to a comfortable safe house with your brother. And why should I trust you? You've been lying since the moment I walked through your door tonight, as have you." His fingers brushed my cheek, surprisingly gentle, though perhaps unknowingly. "Your grandmother never told you the truth about your heritage, did she? About why she really left Sicily?" I shook my head, tears threatening. "She told me they left for a better life in America. Normal immigrant story. She left because she was smuggled out after the attack on your family. Antonio Marino was my father's most trusted advisor until he was accused of betrayal. The fire that supposedly killed your family was set as punishment, except someone helped your grandparents escape. My knees weakened. This can't be real. Tomorrow I'll show you proof. Tonight you need to trust me. His hands gripped my shoulders. Every minute you remain in public view puts you at greater risk. A movement at the edge of the garden caught my eye. A figure retreating into shadows. Vincenzo noticed my distraction and turned, his body instantly shifting to shield mine. "Marco," he called softly. His security chief materialized from nowhere. "We're leaving. Through the back. Have the car brought around." "What about the other guests? Your father? Make my apologies. Family emergency." Vincenzo's arm wrapped around my waist, guiding me down the terrace steps toward a path that led away from the main grounds. "I need to get my things from the apartment," I protested weakly, struggling to process everything. "We'll send someone. Nothing there is worth your safety. My brother's medical records, his backup medications, give Marco the address. He'll handle it." Everything was moving too fast. One moment I was singing Sicilian lullabies. The next I was being hustled through dark gardens. My entire identity in question, my future uncertain. "My brother will be terrified," I said, as Vincenzo helped me into a different car than the one that had brought me, sleeker, more powerful, windows tinted so dark they appeared solid black. "Marco will explain what he needs to know. Nothing more." Vincenzo slid in beside me, the door closing with a soft thud that felt like a prison gate shutting. The driver, another armed man I hadn't seen before, pulled away without being told where to go. They already had a plan. This wasn't improvisation. "How long have you known?" I asked as the estate disappeared behind us, the car winding through back roads rather than the main highway. "About my grandmother? I suspected when I heard you sing. The lullaby. It's unique to a specific region in Sicily, passed through certain families." His hand found mine in the darkness, warm and steady. "When you said her name, I became nearly certain. Tonight was meant to confirm my suspicions. By parading me in front of your enemies. By giving Salvatore enough rope to hang himself." His thumb traced circles on my palm. He recognized the name immediately. "Did you see his reaction?" I nodded slowly, remembering the sudden alertness in the older man's eyes. By tomorrow, he'll have confirmed his suspicions. By tomorrow night, he would have sent someone for you. Vincenzo's grip tightened. I had to move first. Why would he care about me? What possible threat could I pose? Vincenzo hesitated, choosing his words carefully. The Marino family controlled certain territories, certain allegiances. When they were believed exterminated, those territories were divided. If a legitimate Marino heir emerged. That's absurd. I don't want territories or power or whatever else you're talking about. The absurdity of the conversation struck me suddenly, drawing a slightly hysterical laugh. I'm a housekeeper with a community college degree and a mountain of medical debt. I clean your toilet, for God's sake. Not anymore, he said with finality. The car turned down a private road I didn't recognize, approaching a massive gatehouse. Guards with visible weapons checked the vehicle before allowing us to pass through. "Where are we?" I asked as we drove up a winding driveway, dense forest obscuring any view of what lay ahead. "My private residence. I thought the penthouse was your residence." "The penthouse is for business. This is home." The house that emerged from the trees was not what I expected. Rather than another modern glass and steel showpiece, this was a classic stone mansion. Timeless and elegant, with warm lights glowing from within. "Only a handful of people know this place exists," Vincenzo said, as the car stopped at the entrance. "You'll be safe here until we resolve the situation." "And how exactly do we resolve it?" His expression darkened. "First, we confirm your identity beyond any doubt. Then we deal with Salvatore before he can move against you." "Deal with him how?" I asked, though I feared I already knew the answer. Vincenzo didn't respond, simply exiting the car and extending his hand to help me out. The night air was cooler here outside the city, carrying the scent of pine and distant water. An elderly woman waited at the entrance, her severe expression softening when she saw Vincenzo. "You're late," she chided in heavily accented English. The boy arrived 20 minutes ago. He's quite upset. Matteo's here? I pushed past Vincenzo, rushing toward the door. Where is he? Your brother is in the East Wing guest room, the woman said. I've given him something to help him sleep. The journey was stressful for him. I rounded on Vincenzo. You drugged my brother? Mrs. Gallo gave him a mild sedative at his request. Vincenzo replied calmly. He was having difficulty breathing from anxiety. The medication was his own. The fight drained out of me. I need to see him. Mrs. Gallo, whom I assumed was some kind of housekeeper, nodded. I'll take her. The boy should have a familiar face when he wakes. Thank you, Sophia. Vincenzo touched the older woman's shoulder with unexpected affection. Please show Miss Marino to her brother, then to her room. I have calls to make. As Sophia led me through the house, a place of old-world elegance, all rich woods and tasteful antiques, I glanced back to see Vincenzo watching me go. His expression troubled in a way I hadn't seen before. For the first time, I wondered if perhaps he was as trapped in this situation as I was, caught in a legacy neither of us had chosen. I found Matteo sleeping peacefully, his breathing equipment set up precisely as it was at home, his medications arranged neatly on the nightstand. Someone had even brought his favorite pillow and the worn stuffed bear he'd had since childhood, the one he claimed he kept ironically, but couldn't sleep without. Sinking into a chair beside his bed, I brushed his dark hair from his forehead, so similar to mine, to our grandmother's. Was there truth to Vincenzo's wild claims? Were we really descendants of some Sicilian crime family? The idea seemed ludicrous, yet the speed and efficiency with which Vincenzo had uprooted our lives suggested resources and motivations beyond a simple case of mistaken identity. Your room is across the hall, Sophia said quietly from the doorway. There are clothes in the closet that should fit. If you need anything during the night, press the intercom button. Someone is always on duty. We're prisoners here, aren't we? I asked, not looking away from my sleeping brother. The old woman clicked her tongue. If Vincenzo wanted prisoners, he has less comfortable accommodations. No, child. You're under protection. Is it true? About my grandmother? Sophia hesitated, her weathered face revealing conflict. It's not my story to tell, but I will say this. When Vincenzo mentioned your name tonight, I knew immediately. You have her eyes. Her spirit, too, I think. You knew my grandmother. Get some rest, she said, ignoring my question. Tomorrow will bring many revelations. You'll need your strength. Left alone with my sleeping brother, I felt the weight of the day crash down upon me. In the span of 24 hours, I'd gone from anonymous housekeeper to... What? Heir to some criminal enterprise? Target of a blood feud? Protected asset of Vincenzo Russo, a man I barely knew yet who claimed to know everything about me? I crossed to the window, looking out at moonlight silvering the tops of pine trees. Somewhere beyond them lay Chicago, my apartment, my normal life. A life I suddenly feared might be gone forever, replaced by one where Sicilian lullabies were dangerous, birthmarks were identifying marks, and dark-eyed men with scars guarded you while simultaneously holding you captive. What troubled me most as I prepared for sleep wasn't the danger or the uncertainty. It was the treacherous feeling deep inside that whispered this chaotic new reality might actually be where I belonged all along. Morning arrived with sunlight streaming through unfamiliar curtains and the disorienting moment of waking in a strange place. For a few seconds, I couldn't remember where I was. Then everything flooded back. The singing, Vincenzo's revelations, the hasty escape, Matteo being brought here. I sat up, finding myself in silk pajamas I didn't remember putting on. The bedroom was spacious and elegant, decorated in shades of cream and blue. A soft knock at the door made me pull the covers higher. Come in, I called cautiously. Sophia entered carrying a breakfast tray. Good morning, child. I've brought you something to eat. Your brother is already awake and having breakfast in the garden. He seems much calmer today. Relief washed over me. Thank you. I'll get dressed and join him. There's no rush. Mr. Russo had to leave early this morning on urgent business. He asked that you make yourself comfortable and said he would return by afternoon with information you'll want to see. She set the tray across my lap. The bathroom through that door has everything you'll need. Clothes in your size are in the closet. After she left, I examined the breakfast. Fresh berries, yogurt, delicate pastries, coffee in a silver pot. Food for a guest, not a prisoner. The clothes in the closet were similarly considerate, simple but high-quality items in exactly my size, from casual wear to more formal options. Someone had done their research thoroughly. After showering and dressing in jeans and a soft cashmere sweater, I went in search of Mateo. The house was larger than it had appeared last night, a maze of corridors and rooms that spoke of old money and refined taste. Nothing flashy or ostentatious like I'd imagined a Mafia boss would prefer. I found my way to a sun-drenched garden where Mateo sat at a wrought iron table, looking remarkably at ease for someone who'd been essentially kidnapped the night before. "Lucia!" He waved, his face lighting up. At 17, he still had the enthusiasm of a much younger child, his chronic illness never dampening his spirit. "This place is amazing. Have you seen the library or the game room? They have a full-size pool table and like 3 different gaming systems." I sat beside him, searching his face. "Are you okay?" "Really?" His smile dimmed slightly. "I was scared at first when those men showed up. But then Mr. Russo's security guy explained that you were in danger, and we needed to move somewhere safe." He shrugged. "Once I got here and saw how they'd set up all my medical stuff exactly right, I figured they weren't planning to murder us or whatever." "Mateo, this situation is serious. These people are connected," he finished for me. "Yeah, I figured that out. But the way I see it, if someone's after us because of some old family thing, I'd rather have the scary guys with guns on our side than against us." His pragmatism surprised me. "When did you get so mature?" "Probably around the 3rd time I almost died." He grinned to take the sting from his words. "Besides, Sophia makes amazing pancakes. And she knew Nonna." My head snapped up. "She told you that?" "Yeah. She said they were friends as girls in Sicily. That Nonna was the prettiest girl in the village and everyone was in love with her." He tipped his head, studying me. "Did you know any of this Mafia stuff about our family?" "No. I'm still not sure I believe it." I lowered my voice despite the garden appearing empty. "We need to be careful, Matt. We don't know these people or what they really want. Mr. Russo seemed pretty straightforward when he came by this morning." "You spoke to Vincenzo?" I couldn't hide my surprise. "What did he say?" Mateo leaned back, enjoying his role as information bearer. He apologized for the abrupt relocation, asked if I was comfortable, if my medical needs were being met. Then he said something about confirming our family connection and making arrangements for our long-term security. "Long-term?" My stomach twisted. "We can't stay here indefinitely. Why not?" Mateo gestured around at the beautiful garden. "Our apartment is a dump, Lucia. You work yourself to death cleaning other people's houses while I sit around being useless." "You're not useless," I interrupted fiercely. "My point is, if these people want to protect us and give us a better life because of some old family obligation, maybe we should let them." Before I could argue further, a tall, thin man in a suit approached from the house. "Miss Marino, Mr. Russo has returned and requests your presence in his study. Your brother is welcome to continue exploring the grounds with Carlos." He gestured toward a younger man standing a respectful distance away. Mateo grinned. "Carlos already promised to show me the garage. Apparently there's a collection of vintage cars." I squeezed his hand. "Be careful." "Always am," he replied easily. "Go find out about our mysterious family history. I want all the details." I followed the suited man back through the house, trying to memorize the route through the labyrinthine corridors. We passed several security personnel stationed at key points, all armed, all watching with careful eyes. The study was a warm space of leather and mahogany, walls lined with books, a massive desk dominating one end. Vincenzo stood gazing out a window, his broad shoulders tense beneath his tailored shirt. He turned when I entered, his dark eyes immediately finding mine. "You slept well?" he asked, dismissing the man who had escorted me with a nod, "as well as can be expected when you've been told your life is a lie and you're in mortal danger." His mouth quirked slightly. "Fair enough." He gestured to a seating area near a fireplace. "Please sit. What I have to tell you will take some time." I perched on the edge of an armchair, refusing to sink into its comfortable embrace. "Before you start, I need to know how long you intend to keep us here." "That depends on several factors." He sat opposite me, his posture relaxed despite the tension in his eyes. including how you respond to what I'm about to show you." He placed a leather portfolio on the table between us. These documents were in my father's private safe. They concern the Marino family, your family, and the events that led to their supposed extinction 30 years ago. With hesitant hands, I opened the portfolio. Inside were photographs, letters, newspaper clippings, all in Italian, some yellowed with age. One photograph showed a large family gathered on the steps of a villa, perhaps 20 people of various ages. "That was taken at the Marino estate in Palermo, 1989, Vincenzo said softly. "The last family gathering before the attack." My eyes scanned the faces, stopping abruptly on a young woman at the edge of the group. Even in the faded photograph, I recognized her, my grandmother, at least 40 years younger, beautiful and vibrant. Beside her stood a handsome man with his arm around her waist, and in her arms. "Is that my mother?" I whispered, touching the image of a toddler with dark curls. Vincenzo nodded. "According to the records, your mother was 2 years old when this was taken. Elena Marino." My throat tightened. My mother had died when I was 8. Matteo just a baby. She'd never spoken of Sicily or family history, or if she had, I was too young to remember. "What happened to them?" I asked, turning to the newspaper clippings. "Antonio Marino, your grandfather, was my father's consigliere, his most trusted advisor. There was a conflict with the Catalano family over territory and influence. Salvatore's father, Dominic, accused Antonio of betraying family secrets, of working with the authorities." Vincenzo's voice remained steady, reciting history. "My father didn't believe the accusations, but others in the organization did. One night, while most of the family was gathered for dinner, the Marino estate was attacked. A fire was set, and guards posted to ensure no one escaped. I stared at a newspaper headline announcing the tragedy. Mafia family perishes in blaze, suspected vendetta. 23 people died," Vincenzo continued. "Every member of the Marino family was presumed dead, except, apparently, your grandparents and your mother. How did they escape? That's where things become complicated." He leaned forward, his eyes intent on mine. "According to my father's private journal, he helped them escape. He never believed Antonio was a traitor. He arranged false documents, passage to America, new identities. My father kept the secret his entire life. Told no one, not even me. I only discovered the truth after his death last year. I struggled to process what he was telling me. So your father saved my family, but now this Salvatore person wants to finish what his father started. Why? After all this time? Because of what your grandfather possessed." Vincenzo removed a folded piece of parchment from the portfolio. "This is a map of the old territories in Sicily. The Marino family controlled key access points, ports, transportation routes. When they disappeared, those territories were divided among the remaining families. The Catalanos received the lion's share. I still don't understand what this has to do with me or Matteo. We know nothing about territories or family businesses. We're Americans. We've never even been to Sicily. Under the old codes, blood matters. A legitimate Marino heir could make claim to those territories, especially with documentation proving the betrayal was fabricated." His expression hardened. "When Salvatore heard you sing those family songs, saw your resemblance to your grandmother, heard the name Marino, he recognized the threat immediately. But I don't want any of this." I stood, pacing the room. "I'll sign whatever documents renouncing any claims. We can leave the country. Just let us go back to our normal lives." Vincenzo laughed without humor. "There's no going back, Lucia. Salvatore already has men searching for you. Your apartment was watched all night. Your former life has ended." The finality in his tone made my knees weak. I sank back into the chair. "What does this mean for us? For Matteo? It means you have choices to make." Vincenzo stood, moving to a cabinet and pouring 2 glasses of amber liquid. He handed one to me. "Drink. It helps." I took a sip, the whiskey burning a path down my throat. "What choices?" "First, we need to confirm your identity beyond doubt. DNA testing, comparison of your birthmark with family records. Once confirmed, you have 3 options." He counted them off on his fingers. 1. We create new identities for you and your brother, move you somewhere remote, provide financial support but otherwise sever all connections. You would never be able to contact anyone from your past life again. The thought of disappearing completely made my chest tighten. Option 2. You formally renounce any claim to Merino territories or assets, but remain under my protection here in Chicago. You would have restricted movement, security at all times, but some semblance of a normal life. I took another sip of whiskey. And the third option? Vincenzo's eyes met mine, dark and intense. You claim your birthright, take your place as head of the Merino family, with all the power and danger that entails. I would stand as your ally, combining our family's strengths against the Catalanos. A startled laugh escaped me. You can't be serious. Me? Head of a Mafia family? I don't know the first thing about whatever it is you people do. You would learn. His voice was quiet but certain. You have more natural authority than you realize, Lucia. I've watched you. You're intelligent, adaptable, fiercely protective of those you love. Those are the qualities that matter. And what would you get out of this alliance? I asked suspiciously. Expanded influence. Legitimacy for reclaiming territories that should never have gone to the Catalanos. And... He hesitated, an unfamiliar uncertainty crossing his features. The resolution of a debt my father felt he owed yours. He believed until his death that he should have done more to save the entire family, not just your grandparents. I set down my glass, my head spinning with implications. I need time to think, to talk to Matteo. Of course. Take today to consider. Tomorrow, we begin the verification process. He stepped closer, too close for comfort. But know this, Lucia, whatever you decide, you're under my protection now. No one will harm you or your brother while I draw breath. The intensity in his declaration made my pulse quicken. Why do you care so much? Is this really just about old family debts and business territories? Vincenzo's hand reached out, fingers brushing a strand of hair from my face with surprising gentleness. Perhaps I see something of myself in you. Someone thrust into a world they didn't choose, forced to adapt quickly to survive. His touch lingered at my cheek. Or perhaps I simply can't bear the thought of that voice of yours being silenced. The intimacy of the moment was shattered by a sharp knock. Marco entered without waiting for a response, his expression grave. Sir, we have a situation. Salvatore Catalano is requesting a meeting. He claims to have information about unauthorized activities in our territory. Vincenzo's expression hardened instantly, the vulnerability I'd glimpsed vanishing behind a mask of cold authority. Tell him I'll meet him at the club at 8. Standard security protocols. Marco nodded, his eyes flickering briefly to me before he left. Vincenzo turned back, his demeanor transformed into the dangerous man I'd first encountered. I need to handle this. Sophia will show you back to your brother. He moved toward his desk. Stay within the grounds today. The security team has orders to keep you safe, even from yourself if necessary. What will you tell Salvatore about me? I asked. Nothing. Let him wonder. A predatory smile crossed his face. Fear of the unknown is a powerful weapon, Lucia. Right now, he doesn't know if you're truly a Merino heir or simply a coincidence. That uncertainty will make him careless. And if he threatens you? Vincenzo looked surprised by my concern. Then he will learn why no one has successfully moved against me in the decade since I took control. He gestured toward the door. Go. Find your brother. Consider your options carefully. I paused at the threshold. The songs my grandmother taught me. What do they really mean? Why are they so important? They're not just lullabies, he answered. They're coded messages, passed through generations, ways to identify true family members. The one you sang first contains the location of documentation that could prove the Catalano conspiracy against your grandfather. He smiled slightly. Your grandmother was cleverer than anyone knew, hiding the family's most valuable secret in a child's song. As Sophia led me back through the house, my mind raced with impossible choices. By nightfall, I needed to decide not just my future, but Matteo's as well, a future that could involve hiding forever, living under constant protection, or embracing a legacy of power and danger I never knew existed. What troubled me most wasn't the choice itself, but the realization that part of me, a part I'd never acknowledged, was drawn to the third option, to power, to belonging, to standing beside Vincenzo Russo as an equal rather than a servant. And perhaps most troubling of all, to Vincenzo himself, the dangerous, complex man who looked at me not as a housekeeper or a victim, but as someone worthy of his respect. Someone who made even his cold eyes warm when I sang. I found Matteo in the garage, his eyes wide with awe as Carlos showed him a sleek black Lamborghini. My brother's face was flushed with excitement, more animated than I'd seen him in months. He barely noticed my arrival, too entranced by the exotic cars surrounding him. "Can I sit in it?" he asked Carlos, who looked to me for permission. I nodded, watching my brother carefully lower himself into the driver's seat, his hands reverently caressing the steering wheel. "This is insane, Lucia," he called. "Mr. Russo said I could learn to drive when I'm feeling stronger, that he has a closed course on the property." The casual way he referenced Vincenzo sent a chill through me. One day in this world, and already Matteo was being seduced by its luxuries and promises. "We need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "Privately." Reluctantly, he extracted himself from the car and followed me outside to a stone bench overlooking a koi pond. The property was even more extensive than I'd realized, stretching for what seemed like acres in every direction, ringed by dense forest and high walls. "So what's the verdict?" Matteo asked once we were alone. "Are we secret Mafia royalty or what?" I showed him the photograph of our grandparents and mother, watching his face as he studied it. "That's definitely Nonna," he whispered, touching our grandmother's young face. "And Mom. She's so tiny." He looked up, eyes shining. "This is real, isn't it? It appears so." I explained everything Vincenzo had told me. The family history, the territory disputes, the options before us. Matteo listened intently, asking occasional questions, his expression growing more serious with each revelation. "So this Salvatore guy wants us dead because we might have claimed to some old shipping routes?" he asked when I finished. "It's more complicated than that, but essentially yes." He was quiet for a long moment, watching the fish swim lazy circles in the pond. "What do you want to do?" "I want us to be safe. That's all that matters. But if we just run away with new identities, we'd be giving up everything. Mom's memory, Nonna's sacrifice." He frowned. "And we'd always be looking over our shoulders, wondering if they'd found us again." His insight surprised me. "The alternative is dangerous, Matt. Claiming our place in this world means accepting everything that comes with it, including the violence. I've been living with the threat of death my entire life," he replied with unexpected bitterness. "At least this way, the threat comes from something I can fight, not just bad genetic luck." "Matteo, no, listen. You've spent years sacrificing everything for me. Your education, your dreams, any chance at a normal life. You clean houses and come home exhausted because my medications cost more than rent." His voice cracked slightly. "What if this is our chance to change all that? To take control for once?" I stared at him, this boy-becoming man who saw so much more than I gave him credit for. "It's not that simple. Nothing worth doing ever is." He squeezed my hand. "And for what it's worth, I've seen how Mr. Russo looks at you. That's definitely a factor worth considering." Heat rushed to my face. "Don't be ridiculous." Matteo grinned. "I'm sick, not blind. The guy's clearly obsessed with you. Sophia says he's never brought anyone to this house before, not even his family." "Sophia talks too much," I muttered. "She says his father was cold, cruel. That Vincenzo became like him to survive, but there's still goodness underneath." Matteo shrugged. "Maybe you bring that out in him. When did you become such a romantic?" I tried to deflect, uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. "Around the time I realized life's too short to waste opportunities." He stood, stretching carefully. "I'm going to rest before dinner. Think about what I said, okay? Sometimes the most dangerous choice is actually the safest." After he left, I wandered the grounds alone, tracing paths through immaculate gardens and past a shimmering swimming pool. Security personnel maintained a respectful distance, visible but not intrusive. The surreal peace of the estate contrasted sharply with the chaos of my thoughts. By late afternoon, dark clouds gathered on the horizon, bringing with them a chill that drove me back indoors. I found myself drawn to the music room I'd glimpsed earlier, a space with high ceilings, warm acoustics, and a gleaming grand piano. Sitting at the keyboard, I began to play one of the Sicilian songs, singing softly, thinking about hidden meanings and family secrets woven into the melodies. Now that I knew to look for them, certain phrases seemed strange, their syllables potentially encoding locations or names. The third verse contains the coordinates. Vincenzo's voice came from the doorway, startling me. I hadn't heard him return. He crossed the room slowly, his presence filling the space in a way that made it hard to breathe. He'd changed for his meeting with Salvatore. Dark suit, crisp white shirt, gold cufflinks catching the light, the very image of power and control. Coordinates to what? I asked, my fingers still resting on the keys. A safety deposit box in Zurich. It contains documentation proving the Catalanos fabricated evidence against your grandfather, proving they were the real traitors. He sat beside me on the bench, our shoulders almost touching. Your grandmother was clever, teaching you songs that contained the keys to your inheritance without ever telling you what they meant. She was protecting us. Yes, but perhaps she also knew that someday you might need this knowledge. That someday you might choose to reclaim what was taken from your family. His proximity was distracting, the subtle scent of his cologne mixing with something darker. Gunpowder, perhaps, or the lingering trace of danger that seemed to cling to him like a second skin. You've already decided what you think I should do, I observed. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. I have my preferences, yes, because it benefits your business. Because it's what you deserve. His hand covered mine on the keyboard, warm and unexpectedly gentle. I've watched you, Lucia, watched how you hold your head high while cleaning the homes of people who barely acknowledge your existence. How you sacrifice everything for your brother without resentment. How you sing those ancient songs with such conviction despite not knowing their meaning. His thumb traced circles on the back of my hand, sending shivers up my arm. You were born for more than scrubbing floors. You carry the blood of one of Sicily's most respected families, a family known not just for their power, but for their honor, their loyalty. I pulled my hand away, standing to put distance between us. If they were so respected, why were they massacred? Because respect breeds envy, and envy leads to betrayal. He remained seated, watching me with those intense dark eyes. The meeting with Salvatore confirmed what I suspected. He's aware of your existence, your potential claim. He's moving to neutralize what he perceives as a threat. Fear clutched at my throat. What does that mean? It means we need to accelerate our timeline. Vincenzo stood, his expression grim. A DNA test has been arranged for tomorrow morning. By tomorrow night, we need to have made a decision about your future. That's too fast. We don't have the luxury of time anymore. He approached slowly, like someone trying not to startle a skittish animal. Salvatore mentioned your brother specifically. Asked if I'd heard about a young man with a respiratory condition recently admitted to my household. That level of detail means he has informants close to us. My blood ran cold. Matteo is safe. I've doubled security and limited staff access to the East Wing. His hands came to rest on my shoulders. But we need to resolve this situation decisively, Lucia. Hiding is not a permanent solution. And making me some Mafia queen is? I pulled away again, anger flaring. I don't know the first thing about this world. I'd be a figurehead at best, a target at worst. At first, perhaps, but you would learn. His eyes never left mine, and you wouldn't be alone. The implication hung in the air between us. Not alone. With him, the thought was both terrifying and strangely compelling. Why are you really doing this, Vincenzo? I asked softly. The truth this time. He was quiet for so long I thought he might not answer. When he did, his voice had lost its usual commanding edge, revealing something raw underneath. When I heard you singing that day in my penthouse, something broke inside me, a wall I'd built years ago. He moved to the window, staring out at the gathering storm. My father taught me that attachment was weakness, that to lead, I must remain separate, untouchable. I believed him. lived by those rules. Lightning flashed outside, briefly illuminating his profile. Then you appeared with your Sicilian songs and your defiance poorly hidden behind compliance, and suddenly I was questioning everything. He turned back to me. At first, I thought it was merely desire. That passes easily enough, but it wasn't just your beauty that haunted me, Lucia. It was your soul, your resilience, the way you carry burdens that would crush others, yet still find reason to sing. His confession left me speechless, uncertain how to respond to this glimpse of vulnerability from a man who exuded nothing but strength and control. When I discovered your potential connection to the Marino family, it seemed like fate, he continued, moving closer again. A chance to right historical wrongs while protecting something precious. I'm not a thing to be protected, I managed finally, though my voice trembled. Or possessed. No, you're not. His hand lifted to my cheek, thumb brushing across my skin. You're a force to be reckoned with, Lucia Marino. One I would rather have beside me than anywhere else. The tension between us was electric, his face inches from mine, eyes dark with an emotion I was afraid to name. For a moment, I thought he might kiss me. Part of me hoped he would, despite everything. But a sharp knock at the door broke the spell. Marco stood in the doorway, his expression carefully neutral. Sir, the lab technician has arrived for tomorrow's testing. He's setting up now. Vincenzo stepped back, his professional mask sliding into place instantly. Good. We'll be ready at 8 tomorrow morning. After Marco departed, an awkward silence filled the room. The intimate moment had passed, leaving confusion and uncertainty in its wake. You should rest, Vincenzo said finally. Tomorrow will be consequential. I nodded, already turning to leave, when his voice stopped me again. Lucia. Something in his tone made me look back. Whatever you decide, know that my offer of protection stands regardless. I will not abandon you or your brother, no matter what path you choose. The sincerity in his eyes made my heart constrict. Thank you, I whispered, then fled before my emotions could betray me further. Dinner that night was a strained affair. Matteo chatted enthusiastically about the cars and the house, while Vincenzo responded with surprising patience to his questions. I remained largely silent, watching the easy rapport developing between them, unsure whether to be grateful or concerned by their growing bond. After Matteo retired for the night, claiming fatigue, I found myself alone with Vincenzo in the elegant dining room. A crystal decanter of wine sat between us, the rich burgundy liquid catching the soft light. You're troubled, he observed, refilling my glass without asking. Wouldn't you be? 24 hours ago, my biggest concern was paying this month's rent. Now I'm contemplating whether to disappear forever or reclaim a criminal empire I never knew existed. His lips quirked. When you put it that way, it does sound rather daunting. The unexpected humor startled a laugh from me. At least you can acknowledge the absurdity. There's nothing absurd about reclaiming your birthright, Lucia. About taking back what was stolen from your family through treachery and violence. His expression grew serious again. The path won't be easy, but few worthwhile things are. And if I choose to walk away, to take Matteo and disappear, pain flashed briefly across his features before he controlled it. Then I would ensure you had everything needed for a comfortable, secure life elsewhere. New identities, financial support, medical care for your brother. You would let us go? Just like that? Not just like that, no. It would... He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. It would be difficult. But I won't cage you, Lucia. That decision must be yours. The honesty in his voice touched something deep inside me. This powerful, dangerous man was offering me a choice few in his world were ever given. Genuine agency in determining my own fate. I should sleep, I said finally, rising from the table. Clear my head before tomorrow. He stood as well, ever the gentleman despite his ruthless reputation. Of course. Sleep well, Lucia. As I walked past him toward the door, his hand caught mine, stopping me. The touch was light, but it sent electricity coursing through me. For what it's worth, he said quietly. I believe you already know what you want. You're simply afraid to acknowledge it. His perceptiveness was unnerving. And what is it you think I want, Vincenzo? His dark eyes held mine, seeing too much. The same thing I want. Power. Purpose. His voice dropped lower. Belonging. I pulled my hand free, unsettled by how accurately he'd named the longing that had haunted me my entire life. A yearning for something more than mere survival. For a place to truly belong. Good night, I whispered, retreating before he could see the truth written on my face. That night, as lightning illuminated my luxurious prison, I made my decision. Not based on fear or obligation, but on a recognition of something that had always existed within me, waiting to be awakened. By morning, when Vincenzo came to escort me to the DNA testing, I was ready to embrace whatever future awaited, knowing only that I would face it on my terms. What I couldn't have known then was how quickly that future would arrive, or the blood that would be spilled before I could truly claim my inheritance. The DNA test was clinical and quick. A swab inside my cheek, another from Matteo, labeled vials carefully packaged for rush analysis. Vincenzo watched the procedure with hawk-like intensity, giving explicit instructions to the technician about security and confidentiality. Results will be back this evening, he told me afterward as we walked the grounds, autumn leaves crunching beneath our feet, though I have little doubt what they'll show. And then what? I asked, wrapping my sweater tighter against the morning chill. Then we move forward, according to your decision. His eyes studied my face. Have you made one? I stopped beside a stone fountain, watching water cascade over sculpted angels. If I choose to claim my birthright, as you call it, what exactly would that entail, practically speaking? Something like hope flickered across his features. A formal announcement to the families. Documentation filed with the appropriate parties. A ceremony of sorts. Confirming your position. He stepped closer. And an alliance between our families. Cemented by mutual interest and, he hesitated, other bonds, if you wish it. The implication was clear. In this world, alliances were often sealed through marriage. Business and personal interests intertwined. The thought of being bound to Vincenzo in such a way sent a confusing mix of fear and anticipation coursing through me. And Matteo would be established as your heir, given the finest medical care, education, whatever he requires. His hand brushed mine, the touch deliberate. He would never want for anything again. And the danger? Would be significant at first, until your position is secured. He didn't sugarcoat the truth, but you would have my protection, my resources, He seemed to struggle for the right word. My devotion. The raw honesty in his voice made my heart race. This dangerous man, whom I'd known for mere days, yet felt connected to in ways I couldn't explain, was offering not just security, but something more profound. Recognition, respect, perhaps even love, though neither of us had dared name that possibility. I've made my decision, I said, meeting his gaze steadily. I want to claim what's rightfully mine. Not just for the power or the money, but because it's my heritage, my family's legacy. I won't let it be stolen from us any longer. Relief and something deeper washed across his face. His hands caught mine, bringing them to his lips in a gesture at once old-world and intimately personal. You won't regret this, Lucia. I swear it. I have conditions, I added, not pulling away from his touch. A smile touched his lips. Of course you do. Matteo's safety comes before everything else. If at any point I feel he's in too much danger, we reconsider our options. He nodded. Agreed. I want to learn everything, not just be a figurehead. The business, the history, all of it. I need to understand what I'm claiming. I would expect nothing less. And whatever happens between us, I faltered, suddenly uncertain how to articulate the complicated feelings developing between us. Vincenzo's expression softened. We'll develop naturally, without pressure. We have time, Lucia. Before I could respond, Marco appeared on the path, his usual stoic expression replaced by urgent concern. Sir, we have a situation. Salvatore's men have been spotted at the perimeter. 6 vehicles, heavily armed. Vincenzo's demeanor transformed instantly, the tender moment shattered by imminent threat. Lock down the house. Get Ms. Marino and her brother to the secure room. Alert the security teams. Marco hesitated. Sir, there's more. We've identified a breach. Someone on the domestic staff. Who? Vincenzo's voice was deadly quiet. Elena, sir. the new kitchen assistant. She was seen making calls from the gardener's shed using an unauthorized phone. We've detained her, but the damage is done. Vincenzo's hand moved instinctively to the gun I hadn't realized he was carrying. How long do we have? Minutes, maybe less. They're at the outer gates now. Vincenzo turned to me, his expression grim. Go with Marco. He'll take you to Matteo and get you both to safety. Fear clutched at my throat. What about you? I'll handle Salvatore. He cupped my face briefly. This was inevitable, Lucia. He would never let a Marino heir reclaim power without a fight. You can't face them alone. I'm never alone. His smile was cold, predatory. My men have been preparing for this possibility since you arrived. Marco's hand closed around my arm. Miss, we need to go, now. I allowed myself to be pulled away, looking back to see Vincenzo already issuing rapid instructions into a phone, his entire being radiating lethal capability. This was the side of him I'd sensed from the beginning, the ruthless leader who had risen to power through means I dared not contemplate. Marco rushed me through service corridors I hadn't seen before, eventually reaching Matteo's room where my brother was already being helped into a wheelchair by Carlos. What's happening? Matteo asked, face pale with anxiety. Security breach, Marco replied tersely, leading us to a wooden panel that slid open to reveal a hidden elevator. Stay quiet and follow instructions. The elevator descended silently, opening into a concrete corridor that led to a reinforced door, with both electronic and mechanical locks. Marco input a code, turned a key, then ushered us into what appeared to be a luxury bunker. Sleeping quarters, supplies, communications equipment, even a medical area. You'll be safe here, he said, checking the monitors displaying security camera feeds from around the property. These walls are reinforced concrete and steel. Ventilation is independent and secure. On the screens, I could see men taking positions throughout the house and grounds, weapons ready. Another monitor showed vehicles approaching the main gate, black SUVs with tinted windows. I need to be upstairs, Marco said, moving toward the door. Carlos will stay with you. The room is fully stocked. Do not attempt to leave until someone comes for you with the proper code phrase. Wait, I caught his arm. What's happening up there? What is Salvatore planning? Marco's expression was grim. He's making his move against Mr. Russo. Your presence, and what it represents, forced his hand sooner than expected. This is because of me, I whispered. This conflict has been brewing for years, Marco replied. You were just the catalyst. He checked his weapon. Stay here. Stay safe. That's what Mr. Russo wants more than anything. After he left, sealing the door behind him, I turned to the monitors, watching with mounting horror as Salvatore's men breached the outer gate. Gunfire erupted almost immediately, the silent video feed showing muzzle flashes and men taking cover behind vehicles and stone walls. Oh my God, Matteo whispered, watching over my shoulder. This is really happening. Carlos stood beside us, his own attention fixed on a different monitor showing Vincenzo in what appeared to be a command center, directing his security team with calm authority, despite the chaos unfolding around him. Mr. Russo has been anticipating this, Carlos said quietly. He's prepared. I watched Vincenzo on the screen. This man who had upended my life in the span of days, who had revealed a heritage I never knew existed, who looked at me with a hunger that went beyond physical desire, a recognition of something kindred between us. And now, he was fighting for his life, for our lives, against enemies who would destroy us without hesitation. I need to be up there, I said suddenly, moving toward the door. Carlos blocked my path instantly. Miss Marino, I cannot allow that. My orders are explicit. Your orders are to protect the Marino heir? Yes? I lifted my chin, channeling a confidence I didn't entirely feel. Well, that's me. And I'm telling you I need to be visible. If this is about my claim, then hiding while others fight my battles sends exactly the wrong message. Carlos hesitated, clearly conflicted. Mr. Russo was very clear. Mr. Russo doesn't fully understand what's at stake, I interrupted. This isn't just about territory or business. It's about perception, about showing strength from the beginning. The words came from somewhere deep inside me, a part I hadn't known existed until now. A true Marino doesn't hide while others bleed for her. Lucia, Matteo warned. This is insane. I turned to my brother, torn between my instinct to protect him and this new, powerful certainty growing within me. I have to do this, Matt. For both of us. For our future. Then I'm coming too, he said, gripping the arms of his wheelchair. Absolutely not. On this, I wouldn't bend. You stay here where it's safe. I need to know you're protected. Carlos looked between us, his professional training warring with new uncertainties. Miss Marino, I cannot guarantee your safety upstairs. I understand. I straightened my shoulders. But I'm going, with or without your help. Better with, I think. After a tense moment, he nodded reluctantly. I'll take you to the secondary command center. It's secure, but will allow you to be seen by the right people at the right time. He turned to Matteo. I'm leaving 2 men with you. They'll protect you with their lives. The journey back upstairs was tense. Carlos checking each corridor before allowing me to proceed, his weapon drawn and ready. The sounds of conflict grew louder as we ascended. Shouted commands, occasional gunfire, the distant wail of sirens. The secondary command center was a fortified room with bulletproof windows overlooking the main driveway. From here, I could see Salvatore's men engaged with Vincenzo's security team, a standoff developing near the main entrance. In the center of the room, Vincenzo stood surrounded by lieutenants, his face cold with focused rage as he directed their movements. He looked up when we entered, shock and then fury crossing his features. What the hell is she doing here? I gave explicit orders. It was my decision. I interrupted, stepping forward. My fight. My choice. Get her back downstairs. He snapped to Carlos. Now. No. I moved closer, matching his intensity. If Salvatore wants war because of me, then he should see exactly who he's fighting. I won't cower in a bunker while others die in my name. Vincenzo's jaw clenched, a muscle ticking in his cheek. This isn't a game, Lucia. These men will kill you without hesitation. I know that, but hiding won't change the target on my back. I met his gaze without flinching. You said I was born for more than scrubbing floors. Well, I was also born for more than hiding in safe rooms. Something shifted in his expression. Anger giving way to reluctant respect, perhaps even pride. You're either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. Maybe both, I admitted. But I'm here. Use that. He studied me for a long moment before nodding once, sharply. Stay behind bulletproof glass. Do not approach windows without security. Follow every instruction immediately and without question. Understood? Understood. A call came through on the communication system, and one of Vincenzo's lieutenants answered. Sir, Salvatore is requesting direct communication. Says he wants to negotiate. Vincenzo's smile was wolfish. Put him through. The voice that filled the room was smooth, cultured, laced with an accent thicker than Vincenzo's. This unnecessary violence can end now, Russo. Simply hand over the Marino girl and her brother, and my men will withdraw. Salvatore, Vincenzo replied calmly, you violated every code by attacking my home. Give me one reason why I shouldn't destroy you for this transgression. Because the girl is not your concern. This is Catalano family business, unfinished business from 30 years ago. Vincenzo's eyes met mine, a question in them. I nodded slightly, stepping forward. Mr. Catalano, I spoke clearly into the communication system, my voice steadier than I felt. This is Lucia Marino. I understand you have some outdated grievances against my family. A startled silence followed before Salvatore responded. So she does exist. The lost Marino heir. Not lost, I corrected. Protected, and now returned to claim what rightfully belongs to my family. Amusing. Salvatore's voice hardened. A slip of a girl with no knowledge of our world, no standing, no power beyond what Russo provides. You're nothing but a pawn, child. Perhaps, I conceded. But pawns can become queens if they advance boldly enough, and I have evidence proving your father fabricated the charges against my grandfather. Evidence that would interest many parties. Another silence, longer this time. When Salvatore spoke again, his tone had changed subtly. What evidence? Vincenzo's approving nod encouraged me. Documentation in a secure location, accessible only to me. Should anything happen to me or my brother, it will be automatically released to every family head and relevant authority. It was a bluff. We hadn't yet retrieved the contents of the safety deposit box, but the Sicilian songs had given us enough details to make it credible. "You're playing a dangerous game, girl," Salvatore warned. "One you don't understand. Then perhaps we should meet face to face," I suggested, ignoring Vincenzo's warning look. "You, me, and Mr. Russo. Neutral location, limited security. Discuss our options like civilized people." "Lucia," Vincenzo cautioned softly. I raised a hand, silently asking him to trust me. "What do you say, Mr. Catalano, or would you prefer to continue this pointless standoff that benefits no one?" After a tense pause, Salvatore responded, "The old boathouse. 1 hour, 3 security each, no more." "Agreed," I said before Vincenzo could object. 1 hour. When the communication ended, Vincenzo gripped my arm, pulling me aside. "Have you lost your mind? He'll try to kill you the moment he sees you." "No, he won't," I replied with more confidence than I felt. "He's curious now, uncertain. He wants to see for himself if I'm truly a threat or just a convenient puppet. And when he decides you're a threat, by then, we'll have changed the calculus." I met his intense gaze. "You told me I have natural authority, Vincenzo. Let me use it." He studied me for a long moment, something like wonder crossing his features. "Who are you, Lucia Marino? 24 hours ago you were terrified of this world, and now you're negotiating with one of the most dangerous men in the Midwest." "I'm discovering who I've always been beneath the surface," I answered honestly. "Someone who won't let fear dictate her choices." His hand moved to my face, a tender gesture at odds with our surroundings. "If anything happens to you, it won't," I promised. "We'll face this together." The meeting at the boathouse was tense, electric with unspoken threats and calculations. Salvatore Catalano was older than I expected, silver-haired and distinguished in an expensive suit, his eyes cold and evaluating as they took in every detail of my appearance. "You have her look," he said by way of greeting. Rosalia was a beauty in her day. "So I've been told," I replied, standing tall despite my racing heart. Vincenzo remained at my side, a dangerous presence radiating controlled violence. "Tell me about this evidence," Salvatore said, dispensing with pleasantries. "Documents proving your father planted information, bribed witnesses, manipulated the families into supporting his move against the Marinos." I kept my voice steady. "Enough to cast serious doubt on the Catalano claim to former Marino territories. Even if such evidence exists, the territories have been under Catalano control for decades. Possession is 9/10 of the law, as they say." "Perhaps," Vincenzo interjected. "But questions about legitimacy can be destabilizing, particularly with the commission." Salvatore's eyes narrowed. "You're backing her claim then? Making this official? The Russo and Marino families were allies for generations before your father's treachery." Vincenzo replied coolly. "I'm simply restoring the natural order." "And what do you want, girl?" Salvatore asked me directly. "Money? Recognition? Or are you actually foolish enough to think you can step into this world and survive?" I met his gaze without flinching. "I want justice for my family, recognition of our rightful claims. And yes, I intend not just to survive in this world, but to thrive." A thin smile crossed his face. "Brave words from someone who was scrubbing toilets a week ago. Yet here we are," I countered. "You, threatening war over my existence. Me, offering a peaceful resolution that preserves your dignity while acknowledging historical wrongs." His eyebrows rose slightly. "And what resolution would that be?" "Formal recognition of Marino family restoration. Return of our ancestral properties in Sicily. A percentage of revenue from the territories my grandfather controlled." I delivered these terms as if I'd been negotiating such matters my entire life, drawing strength from Vincenzo's steady presence beside me. "In exchange, we don't pursue further claims or release the documentation publicly." Salvatore laughed, though it didn't reach his eyes. "You've coached her well, Russo." "She requires no coaching," Vincenzo replied. "Blood tells." The older man studied me for a long, uncomfortable moment. "And if I refuse these generous terms, then the evidence becomes public," I said simply. "Your family's reputation suffers irreparable damage, and you find yourself in conflict not just with the Russos, but with every family who believes they were manipulated 30 years ago." The threat hung in the air between us, its weight palpable. "I need verification," Salvatore said finally. "Proof of your identity. Proof this evidence exists. The DNA results will be available this evening," Vincenzo responded. "As for the evidence, arrangements can be made for a neutral third party to verify its existence without revealing its location." After further negotiation, tense moments where violence seemed just a heartbeat away, we reached a tentative agreement. Salvatore would withdraw his men, acknowledge my claim pending DNA confirmation, and consider the terms regarding territory and compensation. In return, we would keep the evidence private and ensure a smooth transition that wouldn't disrupt existing operations. As we prepared to leave, Salvatore caught my arm, his grip firm, but not threatening. "You surprise me, girl. Perhaps there is more Marino in you than I expected." His eyes, cold and calculating, assessed me one final time. "Your grandfather would be proud. He was a formidable negotiator himself, before the end." The acknowledgement, backhanded as it was, felt like a significant victory. Back at Vincenzo's estate, the aftermath of the standoff was being managed with efficient precision. Security sweeps, damage assessment, staff interrogations to identify any remaining security risks. Through it all, Vincenzo stayed close to me, his protective instincts seemingly heightened by the day's events. When the DNA results arrived that evening, confirming what we already knew, that Matteo and I were indeed direct descendants of Antonio and Rosalia Marino, a weight I hadn't recognized lifted from my shoulders. This wasn't a case of mistaken identity or elaborate manipulation. This was my heritage, my birthright. "What happens now?" I asked Vincenzo as we sat in his study. The formal report spread between us. "Now we solidify your position, make official announcements, begin the process of reclaiming what belongs to you." His hand covered mine on the desk, "And you start learning everything you need to know about this world you've chosen to enter." "I never thought my life would take this turn," I admitted, "from cleaning houses to whatever this is. From servant to sovereign," he supplied, a rare, genuine smile softening his features. "Though the transition won't be easy. There will be resistance, challenges to your authority, attempts to undermine you. But not from you," I said, making it half-question. His expression grew serious, intense. "From the moment I heard you sing, Lucia, something in me recognized something in you. A kindred spirit, perhaps, or a missing piece I didn't know I needed." He lifted my hand to his lips. "I will be your strongest ally, your fiercest defender, your most loyal." "Partner?" I suggested when he hesitated. His eyes darkened with emotion. "If you'll have me." The question held layers of meaning. Business alliance, personal relationship, perhaps eventually more formal bonds. The speed of developments between us should have felt alarming, yet somehow it didn't. Instead, there was a sense of inevitability, of pieces falling into place that had been misaligned my entire life. "I think we make a formidable team," I said softly. "The restored Marino heir and the Russo patriarch. More than a team," he murmured, drawing me closer until our foreheads touched. "A force that will reshape everything." His lips found mine in a kiss that felt like both a promise and a claim. Tender yet possessive, gentle yet demanding. I surrendered to it willingly, recognizing that in this man I had found not just protection or power, but a true equal who saw me for everything I was and everything I could become. 6 months later, I stood on the balcony of the Marino ancestral villa in Sicily, recently restored to its former glory after decades of neglect. Below, in the gardens illuminated by thousands of twinkling lights, guests gathered for the formal celebration of the Marino family restoration and the announcement of my engagement to Vincenzo. Matteo joined me on the balcony, healthier than I'd seen him in years, thanks to specialized treatment from the world's best doctors. "Quite a view," he remarked, gazing out at the Mediterranean gleaming silver under moonlight. "Hard to believe this is all ours now." "Hard to believe any of this," I agreed, adjusting the sapphires at my throat, the same ones Vincenzo had first placed around my neck that fateful night. Now a formal engagement gift. "Are you happy, Lucia?" my brother asked, studying my face. "Really happy. Not just powerful or secure or whatever." I considered the question seriously. The past months had been challenging. Learning family histories and business operations, navigating complex politics between rival factions, establishing my authority in a world traditionally dominated by men. There had been threats, setbacks, moments of doubt, but there had also been exhilaration in discovering capabilities I never knew I possessed. Pride in watching Matteo flourish, and deepening connection with Vincenzo, whose ruthlessness in business was matched by unexpected tenderness in private moments. Yes, I answered honestly. I'm happy in a way I never thought possible. This life, complicated and sometimes dangerous as it is, feels right in a way nothing ever has before. Good. Matteo squeezed my hand. Because you deserve it. All of it. Vincenzo appeared in the doorway, resplendent in a tuxedo, his dark eyes finding mine immediately across the space between us. It's time, he said softly. Everyone is waiting. As I took his arm, preparing to descend to the gathering where we would officially announce our engagement and the full restoration of Marino family rights, I thought of my grandmother. Had she known this day would come when she taught me those ancient songs? Had she been preparing me all along for a destiny I couldn't have imagined? You're thinking about her, Vincenzo observed, reading my expression with uncanny accuracy, wondering what she would think of all this. She would be proud, he said with certainty. You've reclaimed what was stolen, protected your brother, restored your family's honor, and... His voice lowered, meant only for me. You've found where you truly belong. As we descended the stairs together, faces turning toward us with respect and curiosity, I felt the last pieces settle into place. The maid who once sang while cleaning windows had found her voice in more ways than one, had discovered the power that had always lived within her, waiting to be awakened by the right moment, the right challenge, the right man. And as Vincenzo's hand settled possessively at the small of my back, his eyes filled with a combination of pride and desire that still took my breath away, I knew that this was just the beginning of our story. A story of power and passion, of legacy reclaimed and future secured. A story worthy of its own song.